what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, I'm going to start out a little bit lighthearted before we get into some more serious stuff, but GoodVito's latest physique update. So we already know that GoodVito is still planning on competing in the 2025 Mr. Olympia despite the injury to his lat that he suffered right before the Pittsburgh Pro, forcing him to pull out from that show. But he did obviously compete in the Arnold Classic South America at the beginning of the year, which he won and got his Olympia qualification there. Now, a big topic of conversation today is this latest physique update. Is it photoshopped or not? This seems to be a very controversial, hot-button post that a lot of people are talking about. In my opinion, it's 100% photoshopped, especially his lats and his arms. Now, this has been kind of something that people have pointed out throughout GoodVito's career. There's been posts here and there, especially before he came over to the IFBB. There's been posts here and there that have been kind of suspect. Now, there's no denying GoodVito has an insane physique, which makes it even more odd that he's photoshopping pictures or allegedly photoshopping pictures. And I think it just seems like there's really no reason for him to actually do it. And I saw people speculating, well, is he just trolling us at this point with these updates? Does he really think that people wouldn't notice like such a blatant, obvious Photoshop? I mean, if you put this picture side by side with his front double bicep from his most recent competition, an on-stage shot, and I took this from a video, something that couldn't even be Photoshopped. He's got insane arms. He's got insane lats. He's got an insane V-taper with those lats. But it's nothing like what you're seeing in the picture that he just posted. So I do think, in a way, some of GoodVito's updates can be a bit deceptive, because I think a lot of them, they don't look photoshopped, or if they are, you can't really tell. It's a lot more subtle than what we're seeing here. But I think, again, in my opinion, this is definitely a photoshopped picture, and I don't know why he would do it. And I think that further adds to maybe the mystique of how is GoodVito going to do when he competes at the Olympia, because we still haven't seen him next to these top-level guys. And on Instagram, he looks insane, but the show that he won to qualify for the Olympia, the Arnold Classic Brazil, it was kind of a lackluster lineup. It was more kind of B-tier guys. So I don't think we really have a full definitive answer yet as far as, is it just he's crazy on Instagram and against the top guys, he's not going to do well? We still don't have a definitive answer to that. And I think pictures like this just kind of further fuel that speculation of, is it just a hype thing? Is it just an Instagram thing? Or will he be able to deliver on stage, on a stage like the Olympia? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about this picture? Do you think it's photoshopped or not? And then furthermore, how do you think GoodVito will place at the Olympia this year? Now, next up in the news, speaking of the Olympia this year, speaking of the upcoming Dubai Pro, which we are 9 days away from right now, the latest physique update from Behrouz Tabani. Now, this is very interesting to me, this whole story surrounding Behrouz and also the travel ban, and also if you've watched the news at all in the last 24 hours, you know things are not great right now in the Middle East, especially for Iran. It almost feels disingenuous or even just kind of silly to even talk about this conflict at all in the context of how it could impact pro bodybuilding. But again, I mean, this is not a world news or political channel. This is a bodybuilding news channel. I do think this is something that's going to be impacting pro bodybuilding directly at the Olympia this year. And in the case of Behrouz Tabani, I think that's where you're really going to see this reflected. You look at a physique update like this, 9 days out from the Dubai Pro, which he won last year. So he's qualified for the Olympia 2022, 2023, and 2024, and has not been able to get his visa to come compete at the Olympia any of those years so far. Looking at an update like this, he looks likely to also win the Dubai Pro and get the qualification again in 2025. But again, if you look at what's been going on over the last 24 hours, it is some of the craziest, most horrifying stuff I think I've ever seen, especially on YouTube. I mean, I was watching a live stream last night, and the live stream was like the city skyline of Tel Aviv, and it was just missiles raining down from the sky, hitting buildings. It didn't even feel like I was watching a real thing, but it's real, and it's really bad. And again, I think in the context of pro bodybuilding, even if it seems kind of silly to even talk about it in that context, when you're talking about Hadi Chupin, who is a former Mr. Olympia champ, a lot of people talking about him being one of the favorites to win the Olympia this year. When you talk about Behrouz Tabani, a guy that's consistently winning shows, bringing a crazy conditioned physique, probably going to qualify again and win this upcoming show in 9 days. What you're seeing happen in the news right now, I think directly impacts that. And so when we watch the Dubai Pro, and if Behrouz wins that show, I think you've got to kind of look at it through the lens of what's going on in the world right now, in the likelihood that we're probably not going to see Behrouz on the Olympia stage in 2025, and we might not even see Hadi Chupin on the Olympia stage in 2025 based on how bad things seem to be right now. And I just don't see it. I don't see it getting to a point where it gets better by the Olympia. And I don't have any commentary to offer about the Israel-Iran conflict. I don't talk politics at all on this channel, but I will just say it's scary, it's horrifying, and in the context of pro bodybuilding, I think there will be ramifications, which shows how severe what's happening is if something as niche and as small as pro bodybuilding will be massively impacted by what we're seeing happen. It's a pretty big deal. And I guess I would just say I'm thinking about both sides of this conflict, especially the innocent people, the civilians, the people living in these cities that you're watching on these live streams of just missiles raining down into, apartment buildings. Imagine how terrified just the regular everyday people in both of these places. I mean, it's got to be just absolutely horrifying to be in that situation. And unfortunately, something tells me it's only going to get worse from here, and this is just the beginning, which is just it's devastating to see. But along those same lines, we got some more physique updates going into the Dubai Pro. Now, obviously, this weekend, the most immediate show is going to be the M Pro Classic in Spain, and that's going to end up being a Sunday show. If you live here in America, I don't know exactly what the time difference is, but in America, it's going to end up being a Sunday show if you're wanting to watch the M Pro Classic. But there really haven't been very many physique updates going into that. Sas Harati is really the front runner in that show, and he never really posts physique updates anyway. So there's not been a whole lot to talk about this week when it comes to that. But Dubai is next weekend, and we've gotten physique updates from really all of the top guys going into that show, including Tonio Burton, who, in my opinion, despite maybe being the smallest guy in terms of just size, pound for pound, of all the guys that we're talking about here, I honestly think that this version of Tonio that we saw win the Legion show, I think he is the biggest threat in this lineup, even more so than Nathan Asha, even more so than Neckzilla, who might honestly weigh like 70, 80 pounds more than Tonio. But Tonio, he's just really impressed me with the package that he brought to Legion, the improvements that he's made, the size that he put on. I think he is the biggest threat to Behrouz at this point. I think Behrouz, based on what I've seen, is still the favorite going into this show. I think he looks absolutely nuts. And he's the defending Dubai Pro champion. So I think that also puts this chip of front runner on his shoulders because you're seeing some of the same guys show up again. But I think Tonio is legitimately probably one of, if not the most dangerous guy to Behrouz Tabani winning this again. I think Tonio is the real deal, and I think he's underrated right now. I feel like people kind of discount him because of his size, or I guess lack thereof, but he's very balanced, very well-proportioned, very complete, brings a really tight package to the stage. He's the type of guy that exposes the flaws in the bigger guys. And actually, the next story that I've got for you guys today, we do have confirmation that William Bonac is doing this show. William Bonac just posted a physique update yesterday where he confirmed that he's a week and a half out from the Dubai Pro. So he hadn't really posted very many updates after the shows that he's competed in this season so far, and he hasn't really spoken publicly about Dubai like all these other guys have been. But he did just confirm he's also in the Dubai Pro lineup. So this is going to wind up being, I think, a really exciting show. So you've got Behrouz, you've got Tonio, you've got Bonac, you've got Neckzilla, you've got Nathan Asha. I think you might also have Mo Fuda. I've seen some physique updates from him lately where he looks really, really sharp, but he hasn't confirmed what show he's competing in. something tells me it could be Dubai. But I'm excited to see what the result is going to be, because this is a really interesting test for Tonio. From 8th place at the Olympia, he's proven he can stand for sure with the big boys. But I think now that we've got this different version of his physique, he's added a little bit more size. I think he's a little bit more dangerous now. Could he win a show like this and potentially beat Behrouz, Nathan, Bonac, Neckzilla, and maybe come into the Olympia? There could be a legitimate conversation if Tonio won this show going into the Olympia of first call out for Tonio, top 6 for Tonio. And again, I feel like people kind of count him out because of his size. I think he's the real deal. I think he's a legitimate threat. And we also have a recent physique update from Nathan Asha, who I think is one of the front runners going into this show. Nathan, I think, looks fantastic. And I think the beautiful thing about this show is, like a lot of times what you have and what we've seen a lot recently with some of these other shows that have been exciting, and even some of the ones that have been less exciting, is what we've seen is a clear top 2 at a lot of these shows. And I think what you have in Dubai is going to be a little bit different, in the sense that you've got 4 or 5 guys that I think are all really on kind of the same playing field. They're all really elite level bodybuilders. They're all at the top of their game. And I think this might be one of the first shows this season where we see a first call out, maybe 4 or 5 guys, where there's not as clear of a top 2, and these guys are all very, very close. And you're going to see a battle, not just in those top 2 spots, but maybe in the top 4 or top 5, where it's really hard to tell. Because I think most of the shows that we've seen so far have had a really crystal clear top 2. And when you've got a lineup like this, again, Bonac, Nathan, Neckzilla, Tonio, Behrouz, it's not really the same as a Pittsburgh Pro, where you've got these crazy heavy hitters that are kind of ahead of the pack, like Nick and Derek, that are just the crystal clear top 2, and that's what everybody's talking about. These are all top-level guys, and they're all kind of on the same playing field. And I think we're really going to see a really good first call-out battle. And I don't think, when we watch the prejudging for Dubai, I don't think it's going to be clear who's going to be winning the show. I think this is going to be one of the closer ones that we've seen. And I think it's not going to be clear also maybe who's 2nd through 4th. I think we're going to see a lot of toss-ups here. I think 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, it could be any man's placing. Because you look at Nathan, he's bringing it. You look at Bonac, he's bringing it. You look at Behrouz, he's bringing it. You look at Tonio, he's bringing it. I don't think any of these guys are going to show up off, with the exception of Neckzilla. I think he probably will. And then I also heard a rumor today that if Sauce wins if Sauce wins this weekend's M-Pro show, he's just going to go ahead and go to Dubai and do that too. So you could have Sauce Harati in there. And he's not going to miss. He's not coming in off. So I just have a feeling, and you guys let me know your predictions in the comments below based on some of the names that we know are for sure doing the show. But I have a feeling that the Dubai show is going to be one of the more exciting shows to discuss, to analyze. I think it's going to be a really, really enjoyable show just from a pure bodybuilding fan perspective. I think we're going to see all these guys really bring it, and it's going to be a lot of close calls. Now, next up in the news, again, Big Ramy, another day, another repost on his story, this time saying winter is coming. So Big Ramy has been reposting, I think maybe half a dozen to a dozen Instagram stories over the last few days, all of them hinting at a Big Ramy comeback to the 2025 Mr. Olympia. And I know there's a lot of people saying he's washed, he's cooked, he's not going to do it, he's just trying to stay relevant. I think it is possible that he shows up and does it. Again, he's won the Olympia, and it hasn't been more than 5 years since his last one, because the IFBB has this new policy where if you have sat out, if you win the Olympia, you used to be qualified to compete at the Olympia for life, and they changed it to 5 years after your last win. I believe it's after your last win, not after your last competition. And then after 5 years, you have to ask for permission from the league and from the Olympia to be qualified. But I couldn't imagine, even with that rule, I couldn't imagine them denying if Big Ramy were past that 5 year point. I couldn't imagine them saying, nah, we don't want you there. You got to go qualify. So I think one of the reasons that to a lot of people it seems unrealistic is because Ramy hasn't posted anything. We don't see anything from Ramy. We don't see interviews, physique updates, training videos, nothing. Not even just a video of him talking to the camera, just nothing. But truthfully, with him not having to qualify, if hypothetically he is doing the Olympia, he could just go dark mode up until the Olympia. He doesn't necessarily have to show us anything. He doesn't have to compete. He doesn't have to qualify. He could just train in silence all the way through the Olympia and just show up. Theoretically, he could just do that. I'm not necessarily a fan of this approach, especially to a Mr. Olympia champ, of this kind of just quiet, don't share anything, don't say anything approach to pro bodybuilding, especially in this era of social media. And especially the fact that Big Ramy is a former Mr. Olympia champ 2 times. I do think he has kind of an inherent obligation to his fans as this ambassador for bodybuilding to share and to interact with them. Because even though he's not the current reigning Mr. Olympia, once you've won that Olympia title, especially if you've won it twice, you're forever a part of bodybuilding culture, legacy, everything. So I don't particularly like that Ramy's strategy seems to be just kind of leaving the fans in the dark. However, that doesn't make it any less likely that he would come back and just show up. He still could just do that. And I think maybe that's also part of why these reposts are hitting so hard for fans and generating so much traction, because Ramy really does share almost nothing with the fans. So the fact that he's even reposting fans discussing his comeback this year is really more than we've heard from Ramy in 2 or 3 years, which kind of says a lot. The fact that he's reposting something a fan is saying, and that's becoming news, is really kind of a testament to how little Ramy shares about his plans or his life or his, the future of his competitive career. And I will just say, on the off chance that he does actually come back and that he was somehow able to win the Olympia title back for a 3rd time, I hope that he has a different approach to interacting with the fans this time around. And I'm not going to rant too long about this because I've talked about it before, but I just don't particularly like to see the Olympia title get kind of held hostage and we have to wait for somebody like a Samson Dauda or a Derek Lunsford that's going to take that title and run with it and go on a world tour, try to meet as many fans as possible, posting physique updates like almost daily, if not weekly if not daily, guest posings, interviews, just the whole 9 yards. That's the Mr. Olympia that I think this era deserves, is somebody like Samson. Now, one final thing that I wanted to discuss here, I thought this was really interesting, is one of the segments from Sam Sulek doing a collab with Arnold. And this was one of the questions that Sam asked Arnold that I was particularly curious to hear Arnold's answer. And Arnold showed almost no interest in. So here's what he said.
When are you going to get Chris Bumstead in a movie? Is he not interested?
I have no idea. He's going to ask me.
No, that'd be funny. I feel like if people are following in your footsteps, he's gotten the closest. Just with the, because I mean,
no, he's extraordinary. Yeah.
Because even guys who don't know anything about bodybuilding, they all know Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
So Sam asked Arnold if he would be putting Chris Bumstead in a movie. And I don't know if Arnold was having a bad day or something. This was during the FUBAR premiere weekend, FUBAR Series 2 on Netflix, Season 2 on Netflix. So make sure you guys go check that out. But Sam asking Arnold this, and Arnold seeming completely disinterested in Chris Bumstead, or at least the idea of putting Chris Bumstead in a movie. Something about it just, I found it very fascinating. But just a short clip I wanted to put for you guys there, and I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on that interaction and just like the brevity of Arnold addressing Cbum in that clip. What do you guys think that was about? What do you think the deal was with that? It was just kind of an awkward clip to watch, and I just found it very fascinating. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.